It's Dave here from Amplify, and I'm talking to Jayne Denham. And
Hello.
you may not know her, but you probably should know her. So, she's a star, just like a lot of our artists are stars. She's got plenty of accolades in the past in her genre, and you should check her out. Anyhow, enough of all that. Let's get into it. How are you, Jane?
Hey, Dave. I'm really good, thank you.
That is good, good, good. Now, some of these things, when I do interviews like this, some of the people are new, some of the people are young, some of the people are wherever, and some of these questions are they're sort of a bit generic as they cover everyone. So
Right.
sometimes it's a bit stupid asking a question of some people, and for other people, it's pretty straightforward. So have you always wanted to be an artist? I mean, it seems like a stupid question for someone that spent so long in the industry, but I think for people they like to understand who people are. So,
Right.
at the start,
Absolutely.
what was the childhood? Did you want to be an artist when you were young?
Yeah, so I grew up in a musical family. My mum was a gospel singer, and my grandfather on my dad's side was musical theatre, and all of my aunties as well over that side. My dad didn't want a bar of it. He was a cricket player and a soccer player, but
God,
we
God
still
bless,
had
God bless.
this music on both sides of the family. So I grew up traveling with my mum. She was in a gospel group. And then obviously singing church and stuff like that was what we did. So, yeah, basically grew up around
From
music.
childhood, from like
Yeah,
all the way through, basically, you're
yeah, yeah.
exposed
I
to
think I
music.
was on stage by the time I was like four or five would have been my first time getting up in church to sing some song. And I was always like, my mum and dad never pushed me. If anything, they had to sort of tone me down because I was a bit too enthusiastic. Mum used to say, "Stop showing off."
There you
But
go.
that was just who I was. And my
No, no, no.
grandfather, it was exactly the same. Like he was always the clown and the family events, he was always the entertainer. So although I had two very different genres of music, I actually had um, the entertainment side plus the musical side. And I think that's where me not singing in church, like even though I sang in church, that my friends would say, Jane, you've got to get out there and join a band and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
learn
Get going.
craft and
Get
stuff like that.
excited.
And it was really good. So I did at 14 years old, I put my first band together and I was allowed to show off and get paid to do it.
Good, good, good work. Good work. And what about the songwriting bug? When did you start to understand that you could write songs and that could be a big part of who you were?
Yeah, I think, well, I was in a cover band. So my parents loved gospel music and country music. So they were the two genres I grew up with. But I personally discovered rock when I was a teenager and I did cover bands and that was lots of fun. But then it wasn't till I realized if I wanted, because I always grew up, I was in the era where bands would be playing in our town all the time in the Blue Mountains. And I was like, that's what I want to do for a job. I want to be the front singer of a band like Chrissy Ampfoot and the Divinals and Susie DeMarchi and the Baby. That was my absolute dream. And so yeah, I put together my very first band, and I thought that's sort of what I do, and realized, well, if I'm going to be like that, I've got to write a song, right? I can't just do covers because they don't do covers. They're famous for their own music. So I got together with some friends and started writing. And look, I've got to be honest, I don't think I'm the greatest songwriter in the world. I think I'm a really good ideas person and I work really well in a group
Yeah,
environment
yeah,
for when I'm writing songs. It's always in a group. But yeah, I've written with some incredibly big hit songwriters all over the world now in my career. So it's
yeah,
been a
yeah,
privilege. They like having me in the room. I think as an artist, you've got to know
yeah,
who
yeah.
you are, what you're writing
Well,
for. So
I
yeah.
watched I watched a doco last night for about an hour on Ted Alberts, and
Mm,
the start of the Alberts and the start of the Easy Beats, and
right,
then Vanda and Young coming through, and it just finished at the start of AC/DC.
right.
And that whole in the recording studio and success, failure, and starting, and breaking through, and the young brothers who were sort of they meandered through about 10, 15 years of Britain and all this sort of stuff and getting to someplace. I mean, the stories are just unbelievable. So we'll get onto yours because your compilation is the album coming up is pretty cool. What about the just to something a bit more recent? What about the Women in Trucking Association? How did that come about? What's that all
Yeah,
about?
well, Dave, when I started my career, I was a hairdresser, as in when I did my first solo album. So I was in bands for years, and then I had an opportunity to do a solo album, and it was country, and I was writing songs that I thought were rock, and everyone was saying, no, that's actually country. And I'm like, okay, now I understand where my
Yeah.
background came from. So yeah, so my first one of my first ever songs I wrote for my country album was inspired by one of my customers. And she said, my cousin Jude, you got to write a song about her. She's a truck driver and she looks like Sandra Bullock and she's like the coolest thing ever and blah, blah, blah. And I remember I was on my lunch break and I was like, can I write down a little bit about your cousin? So I literally embellished this story, made it sound like it was too good to be true. Never met the girl, wrote it, recorded it. The song's called Cousin Jude. It was a girl who drove a truck, who looked like Sandra Bullock, who was beautiful. And I thought, what a great idea. And I loved writing songs that cheer on other people, like
Yeah.
women who drive
Inspiring.
trucks. Or, I just think, how cool are you? I'm going to write a song about you. Same with girls that drove utes. That was my very first single of all, like, of my
Yeah.
country career. So yeah, so that kind of, I had no idea it would blow up as much as it did. I ended up meeting the real cousin Jude. She was amazing. She really did look like Sandra Bullock. She's in the video clip, so you can go check it out. So that was literally the beginning of my career, even though I only had one trucking song on the first one. And then every album, until till the COVID, I'd always put two trucking songs on my album. But because of those trucking songs, I was known all around the world as the Aussie chick they used to call me the Aussie trucker chick. And so women in trucking in America, I got to meet them. I got invited to perform at the biggest truck shows in the world and met the girls, and they said, we'd like you to be our ambassador. And it was
Sensational.
it was really cool. It's like I think back now and I'm like, did that actually really
Well,
happen?
I think, consciously there's a moment and, your collaboration with it, and that's all that exists in life.
Yeah,
And so everything that happens, once we start putting in descriptions and riches and fat and all this sort of stuff, that's where our downfall is because we're not
right,
in the moment anymore. We're just in our heads thinking about things. And so,
exactly.
so when you do that sort of stuff, you didn't anticipate when you did that first trucking song
No,
that this whole future would open up. But what it potentially does is it fuels you and it fires you to keep on doing
that's
whatever
right.
you are, not country, not this, not that. Sure, that's the genre you in, but
So true.
you do
Yeah,
you all the time, and that's
100%.
and that's the reminder all the time because that's the thing that's common all the way through that says, hey, you can just be you, and
Exactly.
away you go, and you get all that feedback and love, which is great.
Yeah.
How would you
Yeah.
describe your sound? I know we say country, but
Yeah.
how would you describe your sound if you were sort of saying to somebody,
Right.
what do you sound like, or what are you
Yeah.
what are you trying to pitch for? What is it?
Well, it's definitely country rock, because again, because I love rock so much, and then when I was trying to write rock and it sounded more country rock, that was when everyone's like, "Well, you're not kind of country, but you're not rock, you're country rock." And back when I started 20 years ago, Gretchen Wilson came out with Redneck Woman, and she was pretty much the first one I'd ever heard to do a sound that was definitely country, but with a rock edge to it. And as the time's gone on, I've probably pushed the boundary a little bit more into rock. And this new album is definitely got it's got country songs on it, but it's got some really strong rock songs that I've never actually recorded anything like this before, which again, like you were saying, you've got to be yourself. I really wanted to put on this album all the facets of Jayne. If you come to my show, you'll hear me sing AC/DC. You'll hear me sing because I embraced that. I realized, well, why try and do country covers in your show when you love rock so much and you love country. So in my show, I always put in a couple of covers, but I always throw in those rock covers. So I do a Pat Benatar song and I do yeah, like I do
Yeah,
Back in
yeah,
Black and things
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it makes all my fans go, we love rock, we love country,
yeah,
and hopefully that's how they come to discover who I am.
yeah,
Yeah, so I'm pretty much the only girl that's really done or doing that here in Australia
yeah.
to the
Absolutely.
rock. it's pushed more rock than it is country, but it's definitely got that undertone of country, which it's fun. That's art. Like, I don't want to sound like anyone else. I want to sound
Well,
like
I think people get a bit label, they say I got to
yeah,
do originals, I can't do covers, or I'm this or I'm that
yeah,
or whatever. And basically, the audience just has to love you, and so
yeah,
whatever you do, they've got to love you. And I think
exactly.
like the influence age, podcasts and acting and all this sort of stuff shows that people can be hybrids of a whole range of things. They don't
Right.
have to be one particular thing,
Exactly.
and
And they are the
people
people
love
who,
it.
yeah, they are the people who inspired my music. So I like to do a tribute to, I even do a tribute to Chrissy Amphlett in my show because she really did inspire me. So,
Absolutely,
and the crowd
absolutely.
goes
Yeah.
nuts, even if they don't know who I am.
Well,
Soon
you
as
know,
I do those songs, they go, "We
I
love this
do.
song."
I'm an old dog, so I do this publicity all the time. And like I saw that series last night, and I was there at the start of it all because basically I was a kid when they were all coming
Right,
along and they were kids. And like I think about Kylie in '86, and when she came out, everyone, yeah, because we were all boys and we're saying, "What the hell?" This girl on TV and all that. I mean, she's the biggest recording female artist of all time, and she's had this massive career,
right,
and she's
Career.
continued, etc. And you've
Yeah,
got to respect that. You
right.
can't just say, and that's the thing. The thing is, uh, and they can't do it by doing someone else. They've got to do themselves all the way through, and that's where the longevity comes. Okay, so I'd ask you which artists inspired you, but I think we'll get onto that because your compilation's basically just about all the artists that would
Yeah,
inspire anyway.
yeah,
Okay, so your latest single, which was another collaboration with Marty Fredrickson, Angel of Mercy, was released will be released in a couple of days. What's
yeah.
that all about? Where'd that
Oh,
come
well,
from?
this song, honestly, the whole new album, creating it with Marty Fredrickson, for those who don't know who he is, he's a producer who's worked with Aerosmith. He's not only an incredible producer, but songwriter. He's written for Carrie Underwood and Pink, and he's produced Faith Hill, lots and lots of incredible artists, both rock and country. So we were really excited to push the boundaries again for this record. And we felt, my management said, look, I think Marty Fredrickson is the guy to do that with you. So with the new album, I got to meet him. He agreed to do one song, was all he agreed to do at the start. And he said, all right, well, what do you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I do lots of festivals and everyone knows me from my high energy, big shows. And he said, well, we need to create an album that's that. So when you listen to the Jayne Denham new album, you will see it on stage. You can hear it on stage. When you perform it, it is big. And like this guy's written and produced for Aerosmith, Def Leppard, all these different people. So he knows how to do that. So that for me was great because it pushed me into a different direction. And Angel of Mercy started out, we wrote about it being about someone in a dark place, and I had this theme, angels, and but I didn't want it to be dark. I wanted to be positive. I wanted to be uplifting. And then by the end of it, I realized, wait, we've just written my story. And I had a marriage breakdown nearly 15 years ago now. And I just remember as we wrote this song, I'm like, wait, you're describing exactly how I felt
Boom, boom.
at that time. And so vocally, this was the really cool part, was vocally, he really wanted to push me with this record as well. He said, I want to get Jayne's voice because a lot of people say, oh, you're better live. And I'm like, that's actually not a compliment.
No, that's right. That's right.
Because like that means that what you hear on the record isn't capturing everything I can do on a stage.
That's
So
right.
he was very specific in let's try and get you on stage on a record. And look, I'm not saying that every song or album has not sounded like me, but I think he wanted to embrace that more. So with this song, he just kept lifting the key, pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And he said, I want to hear you so desperate when you sing this song. And because he kept putting up the key, I had to really dig deep to actually hit the notes.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And out of that, suddenly all this emotion has come out in my voice that I have never heard on a recording. So I actually think it's the
Terrific.
vocal performance I've ever done, to be honest. I still listen to it and go, I don't even know how I did that.
Terrific.
And I
Well, that's
think that's
coming
the
out.
sign of a great producer. And also, I think when you connect with a song, it does really come out in that vocal. Because a lot of songs I wrote about other people, which I love to do, but this one was a little bit more about me, and so that's the different because I haven't really ever done that before.
Fantastic. Let me just explain something. I just might have confused a few people before. In my old age, I got four interviews today. One of them's with Tanya Docco, and she's written this compilation album, which I got mixed up, and I'm talking to you about a compilation
Oh,
album.
right. Yeah. That's cool.
If that explains in my old age, I've got crossed wires here. So let's talk about then. Who were the artists that inspired you? Because basically, you've been across the whole gamut, and with all the awards and country and probably Tamworth and all this sort of stuff. Who are the inspirations, the artists that you sort of look to and look for future collaborations, maybe, or
Yeah,
maybe they're
sure.
past already.
I have been so lucky in my career to have collaborated with some incredible artists. Shannon Noll and I did a song many years ago, got nominated for a Golden Guitar for Beyond These City Lights. That went to #1, which was huge back in the day when we did it. And I've worked with Colt Ford in America again,
Yep.
incredible artist. Never thought I'd ever work with him. But inspired wise, Gretchen Wilson definitely had a lot to do with my career, and even as you say, Tanya and people like that who I've got to meet over the years now
Yep.
have really inspired me. I mean, Susie DiMarchi, like
Susie's sensational. She's
she's just incredible, a
unbelievable.
lovely person, and been very encouraging. Actually, of me, she heard something I did, and I actually did a baby animal song on my porch and one day, and she heard it, and Dave Leslie actually played on one of my albums guitar, which was really fun. So look, I love I've been able to, like I said, work with a lot of great people, but I think some of the women out there really inspired me, and I'd love to do duets with a couple
Yeah,
of. I don't think I've ever done a vocal. Oh no, I have done a vocal collab once with two of my friends, Amber Lawrence and Jasmine Ray, but not in outside of country. So maybe one day.
you ever thought of relocating? Is Nashville called? Nashville must have called at different stages. And sort of said,
I have a visa. I can live there if I want to. So, and I did get offered a record deal there about 10 years ago, but I just didn't ever feel I wanted to live there. I
yeah,
mean,
no,
people
well,
might think I'm
especially
crazy.
now. Now you wouldn't want to live there. It'd be,
I know
ridiculous.
people
But
might think I'm crazy that I never took the opportunity, but it was something I just never felt um, for me was I'd have a lot more work over there because you can have a massive career and not even be
massive.
big.
But
So
like
yeah,
I said earlier, that conscious part about collaborating with the moment, that's all that exists. And
right,
so basically, you can be Mandela in jail, or you can be, all you've got to do is do you. And if you do
exactly.
you, you have your life.
That's
And
right.
your
Yeah,
life isn't related to rich or
correct.
poor or whatever. You have, I want to
You get
talk,
to
I'm
choose.
going to do this in a podcast, but, people don't understand that when you're looking for an event, well, then it's only the event. If you're waiting to retire or to pay off the house or whatever, it's only that event that has the same value as this moment.
So true.
And you're giving up all these moments to get to that moment. And it's ridiculous. So
Yeah.
at some stage, you've got to get out of the head. Okay,
Yeah.
you've had six albums. When's the next one coming?
So the next one's going to drop in January, which Angel of Mercy's on. So we've dropped 3 songs so far. We've got Hillbilly Halo, Preacher's Son, which is about my first boyfriend, which is a fun track, and Angel of Mercy drops Friday. And then yeah, I think it's every 5 or 6 weeks we're dropping another
Fantastic.
off the record up until January, and then I'm actually going to be launching my album on main stage on the Toyota Park Tamworth Country Music Festival on the Friday.
Fantastic. And I
Yeah.
presume you'll follow that with a bit of a tour at some stage?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So that'll pretty much kick off the new album, and yeah, we'll hit the road next year and
What
lots.
what what have you got coming up in the near future in terms of events and stuff that the
Yeah,
fans
I've
can
got
look forward to?
Savannah in the round, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah,
Later in October it is, so I'm really looking forward to that. Never performed there before, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Sorry, that's my husband trying to ring me. And yeah, then we're off to Victoria to do a festival down there later in the year. So it's going to it's quiet at the end of this year, but then next year it's going to be busy, busy, busy.
When you said you had a divorce back then, I thought of the Three Stooges statement, "Are you married or happy?" And now you've just said you're married. Are you married again? Yeah, you got married
Yeah,
again,
yeah. So I remarried. It'll be 9 years this year, so that's really
but you
nice.
did it right this time.
Very happy, very happy. I'm
Good,
very lucky.
good
Yeah.
work. Okay, if you could put now in this last bit of our interview, we do all the stupid questions that everybody likes to hear the answers to. If you could perform with any, not quite, there's different stuff. If you could perform with any music artist, alive or dead, who would you choose and
Ooh.
why? Now you've got
Oh,
a
I
now you've got
love
a
that.
rock background as well as like in your in
Yeah,
your in your blood is rock
yeah,
and
and country.
and
I mean,
country.
if I could have one from each genre, I'd say Chrissy Amplet from the Divinals. That would
Yeah.
be my rock choice. And country, I definitely have to say Alan Jackson. I'm a massive Alan Jackson fan.
He's a legend. He's a legend.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
So definitely
I
grew up
think
with Alan. So
because
played him all the time, to be honest. It's my go-to music in country that I listen to the most.
I think it's one thing that I think in Australia we don't really understand so much. Music overseas, like
Yeah.
Bad Bunny. If you go down to South America, I mean, it is massive, and we
Yes.
don't hear much about it. Like he's the
Yeah.
biggest artist on the planet, and
Right.
we don't hear
Right.
much about it. Or country. I mean, country music is just if you went to the
Having a
States,
moment.
it's just
Yeah.
unbelievable. In
Yes.
terms of how big it is. Yet
Yes.
we sort of do Tamworth, and we don't hear a lot about it apart from bits and pieces, and we think urban and all that sort of stuff. And so
Right.
it's an interesting thing. I think people should get more into it, in my view,
Well,
anyway.
I remember going to the States for the first time, and I remember going into their shopping center. Sorry, my light just dropped out. I remember, yeah, going into their shopping centers and they were playing country music in like our Westfields here in Australia. And yeah, that was just crazy. I'm like, what? Their commercial music is country, and it really is. So, and it's funny enough, it's actually turning a little bit here. A lot of people are really into country now
I,
here in
I,
Australia. So,
I would even suggest that probably in America, it's probably above
oh, it
rock.
is definitely 100%.
In
It is
terms
the
of
biggest rock.
here, we think about rock sort of thing, or
Right.
those
Our
genres.
culture is definitely
Country
rock.
over there is
Yeah.
is bigger, bigger.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, what's the best thing about performing to a live audience? Having done it, like and been performing obviously since you were a kid
Yeah.
in family get-ups when Grandpa had come out and set the scene and you'd join him.
Yeah.
What do you like most about performing uh,
I actually
live?
love creating a show. That's probably I was a dancer as well when I was younger. And I definitely love to listen to this music and then figure out how that's going to look. So my last two albums
That's great.
since COVID, I did one album called Wanted, and I did another album called Moonshine, and they were based around a genre of music. So with the Wanted album, it was for those who love an old spaghetti western movie, it was spaghetti western movie meets country rock. And I just went completely berserk and got costumes. I had a fake gun. I had a gun holster. I did this, and on the back of the screens of the show, I'd have Western scenery, and I'd have old Western movies with chicks punching up other
Excellent.
chicks. And it was
Excellent.
so for me, it was fun to bring the sound of the music to life visually.
Yeah.
And I think I love doing that the most is how do I turn what you're listening to, what do they say? You listen with your eyes.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I've really enjoyed doing that over the years, especially the last 5 years doing that type of a show, purely from an artistic point of view. I was a rock chick. I can run around, I'll jump off speakers, I'll do all that. We have fun, we get the crowd going, and I love to see the biggest thing for an artist is to see someone singing your songs, your lyrics that you wrote.
Well,
That's the biggest deal
I,
ever.
I
So
often, I
yeah.
often say, Frankie, that I read a story somewhere where Sinatra was playing in his 70s at Las Vegas and he forgot the words. And
Yeah.
and they started singing and so
Yeah,
and
yeah.
someone
I've
in the
been there.
crowd said, "We've got you, Frank," that sort of situation. So, that's a pretty cool sort of thing, I think. All right. What's the career highlight been? If you could pick one highlight out, what would it be? Like, what was the moment? And it doesn't have to be necessarily the biggest. What was the moment when you can say, that
That
really hit home?
that was pretty cool.
Because you'd
I
have plenty.
Yeah, I have, and it's a hard question really because I've had so many incredible things that have happened, but I feel like the moment I went, this is what I really want to do as well. I got asked to sing backing for Tina Arena at the ARIA Awards when Burn was really big.
Oh,
And that for me was like, and my friend who
right.
put the backing vocals together, she said to me, I've been asked to put together a group of singers for Tina Arena for the ARIA Awards. And she said, "You're the first person I'm going to put in the group because I actually think you need to be in this
Sensational.
industry." And so I think that was the moment I went, "Oh wow, someone actually believes I can do that." And I got to meet Tina. I sang with her. It was, and I look back now and go, that was a moment in our Australian culture history because that song was just so massive. I had John Farnham.
Yeah, Johnny.
Next to like his dressing room was across from me, and I had Super Jesus next door, and yeah, it was pretty cool to. That
Well,
was when I was like, I think I was in my early 20s, so it was a
a, li-
pretty
a
bit of a
little,
pinch me
little,
moment.
a little Tina story. When she was 14, she was her best mate. I knew her cousin. Actually, one of my best mates, his cousin. There was a whole family there, and her best mate was Morena Machoian, and they used to want to go out with us to the nightclub all the time, and we used to have to tell them to rack off, because we were all, 5 years older, sort of thing, and all this sort of stuff. So it's amazing how things change. She's a superstar. She's an absolute
He
superstar.
sure is.
We used to go down
Yeah.
the grain store. She used to be down the grain store and play a regular down the
No
grain store when
way.
she started. She was fantastic. Sensational person she was.
Yeah.
Okay, here's some quick fire questions for you. What's the craziest thing you've ever done
Oh, craziest thing I've
that
ever
you can
done.
talk about?
Oh,
Most
craziest
people pass actually because they don't
yeah,
they don't want to
craziest
tell.
thing I've ever done.
You
Tried
didn't.
to I tried to go down my mum and dad's driveway in a pair of roller skates, and it's a very steep driveway. And my friend ended up in the rose bush. So
The Blue Mountains.
believe me, that's like there's a lot of hills.
God's own. What's the one topic you can talk about for hours?
Oh, definitely music. Yeah.
What's the thing you like most about yourself?
Uh, well, everybody says I've got blue eyes. They're very blue. So yeah, I think that's my best feature is my blue eyes.
Perfect. I think your heart's probably a better
Oh,
feature.
thanks.
Okay, let's finish off with these. Finally, these can be all time or just current. Favorite album?
Oh, Alan Jackson, Red Like a Rose.
Good album. Favorite artist?
Gretchen Wilson.
Favorite movie?
Uh, Hunt for Red October.
That's a good movie, man. That's an obscure one.
I love
Uh,
Hunt for Red
um, what's his name? the Scottish guy, and who was his foil?
Oh gosh, you put me on the spot
No,
now.
no, no, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Favorite,
yeah, yeah.
but it was a great movie. It was a great movie.
Oh,
You had to take over. Favorite place to visit?
oh, Nashville. Yeah, I love going to Nashville.
It's changed. And when I say
It
it's
has
changed, it's
changed.
it's it's all genres. It's not just country. They have music.
Yeah,
It's music central.
yeah.
Favorite venue to play?
Oh, I'd have to say Tamworth Country Music
Of
Festival.
course. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. If this was about me, I ran away from home and when I was 14, caught planes up to Gunnedah, which is only about 40
Ah,
miles from there because my cousins lived up there. So I got a few Tamworth stories as well. Favorite food?
seafood.
Seafood. Seafood and eat it. That's my
Yeah,
favorite too.
yeah, yeah.
Favorite drink?
White wine. I know it's not very rock and roll, is it?
Wine.
I know it's not
I'm a
very rock.
red guy. White puts me sweet. Favorite person in history?
Ooh,
Apart from me.
oh, I'd have to say Jesus. I reckon that's a pretty good story.
There's a you know, there's a story. It's a big name. And do you have any? You a clean skin, or you actually just before we go on there, was that a theme through family? Like were the family religious?
Yeah, yeah. So
And
my
that's the gospel music, I
right.
suppose, the singing in church.
Yeah, so both sides of my family, we all grew up singing church, and we all, yeah, involved in the local church our whole lives. All my cousins, everything. So,
Because that's a story in itself, really.
mm,
I wanna eventually I'm going to do a pod and talk to people about the deep dives rather than just music or whatever, and find out
right.
about how they tick. And religion's such a
Yeah,
I know it was a big
definitely.
one
Well,
because it basically it teaches kids about sin and about fear and about hell and about all sorts of stuff.
yeah,
And today, a lot of people would say that that's sort of abuse because you're really inflicting stuff onto people, and other people will say it's sort of discipline because it sets up a standard and all this sort of stuff. So it's an interesting subject. Are you a
yeah.
clean skin or do you have a tattoo?
No, I don't have a tattoo.
No
No.
tattoos.
I know it's so on rock and roll, but I've never even been interested, funny enough. Everyone's like, but you're the country rock chick. You should have tattoos. I'm like, nah, never really interested me. So,
I would have thought, but I
no.
suppose the religion sort
My
of does a bit of
my
that.
husband's got a few, but that's about it.
I would have thought that as the young rock chick, front
I
of band rock
know.
chick, you'd probably go out there and just establish something because it's only
No,
like
I just went for leather.
the leather. That's it, Jane. That's the interview. Lovely
Yeah, I
talking to
just
you. So we've got the single coming out in a
no.
couple of days, or July 24th. Yeah, the single's coming out in July
Yes, that's
24th.
right. Yeah,
We got an album. We got more singles
that's
coming
right.
out probably every 5 6 weeks until the album comes out at the start of the year.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
a lot going on. There's stuff you can check out. You can check out the video and see Sandra Bullock's look-alike in the video. So there's lots to check out.
And
I
you have to
suggest you
check
do.
out Hillbilly Halo. We just released a video clip called Hillbilly Halo, and it's actually 3D. We've never done
Cool.
it. Yeah, it's amazing. It's taken from the technology of like Spider-Man. It's called oh, I'm having a mental blank what it's called. Anyway, it's this basically we're filmed and then we're put into a room. It's amazing. A friend of mine and I spent 8 months working on it, and it's pretty cool. It's like we're in this. It's very cool. It's insane that you can do that sort of technology. People actually thought it was AI, but it's not. It's 3D, so it's pretty cool.
So I like to think too when I spoke about that in the moment and all that sort of stuff. If you want a career in music, look at Sarah Bareilles' Yellow Brick Road and the way she holds the crowd in that darkened room with just her voice and the piano.
Yeah.
Or look at Prince on stage at at
Yes.
the Rock Awards, or the no, it was the induction into something or other, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, when he's on there with Jeff Lynne, and there's four other people on there that are all legends, and they didn't even know Prince was going to be there, and he just turns up on the side, and he does this riff for a couple of minutes, and it's just unbelievable. After they've played for about 2 or 3 minutes, he comes and does this riff on the side, and at the end of it all, this is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. At the end of it all, he picks up the guitar and he throws it into the audience. There must have been a guitar tech there or something like that, but he throws it into the audience. And I think to myself, everyone's trying to get numbers and social media and go somewhere or whatever. If you can do one moment like that, you've got a career. Because if you can do
Right.
that,
Yeah,
every time you go out, that's what it's about. And like
that's right.
when you were talking about creating a show, that's what it's about. You've got
Right.
in your blood, you're bringing yourself through, and you're creating some. That's what you're doing. You're creating a show. So when
Yeah.
someone turns up, you don't know what's gone into the background to get to where it is, and
Yeah.
people go and their mouths open and they go, "Wow!" And
Right.
that's what we call the wow factor. That's a
Yes,
career.
that is
If
so
you have a
true.
career, forget about money, forget about numbers, everything, all of that will come. You don't
Yes.
even have to worry about it. It'll organically turn up. You
Yes.
just got to worry about making sure that you're there.
Yeah,
And
and you have
so,
a point of difference. And I think, you can be like John Williamson and sit on a chair and still have the crowd eating out of your hand.
absolutely,
You just got
absolutely,
to figure
absolutely.
out who you are and
Look at
why
John
people.
Prine. Look at
Yes.
John Prine, a
Yes.
superstar. and like a singer, most country artists in America,
Mm.
he's been their inspiration, and he
Right.
basically just sits there and he
Yeah.
tells a story. And I think
Yeah.
that's the
It's amazing.
point. The point is forget about all this social media crap and just find out who you are and go out and do that.
Connect.
And that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Anyhow, enough of all that.
That's
Sorry,
right.
it's
So
been
true, Dave.
lovely talking to you, Jane, and
Dave, really
we'll
appreciate
keep
it.
supporting the Jayne Denham story as it evolves, and keep in
Thank
touch.
you. I will. Thanks so much, Dave. Really appreciate it.
Namaste. All the best. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time today.